Dream Lantern has found a story for you tonight. Somewhere past the age of waking, there is a castle wrapped entirely in ivy, where a queen had been sleeping for 100 years. And tonight, we are going to visit her. Get comfortable now. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breathe slow. And let go of anything you are holding onto today. You don't need it anymore tonight. Just settle in and listen. There was once a kingdom called Wilhaven, tucked so deep in a valley of soft green hills that the rest of the world had almost forgotten it was there. It wasn't a large kingdom. It didn't need to be. It had orchards heavy with peace and slow winding rivers, and stone cottages with the smoke curling gently from their chimneys. And at the very center of it, on a low hill surrounded by ancient oak trees, stood a castle covered almost entirely in soft green ivy. This was the castle of Queen Isolde. Isolde had ruled Wilhaven for many, many years. Long enough that most of her people could not remember a time before her. She was known above anything else for her gentleness. She settled disputes over garden fences and orchard boundaries with more patience than most rulers gave to matters of war. She listened to the shepherds and the bakers and the children who wandered too close to the castle gates, and she made time for every one of them, because she believed that a kingdom was only as peaceful as the smallest conversations within it. But Isolde was growing old now. Her hair had turned the soft white of apple blossoms, and her steps, once quick and sure, had slowed to something more careful. And there was one thing, one single wish, that she had never yet fulfilled. Long ago, when she was only a girl, before she had ever worn a crown, Isolde had wandered far beyond the castle walls into the forest that bordered the kingdom's edge. She had gone further than she should have. further than any of her guardians would have allowed had they known. And there, in a clearing she had never found again, no matter how many times she searched in the years that followed, she had discovered a tree unlike any other. It was tall and silver-backed, and its leaves shimmered faintly even without any wind to move them, as though each leaf held a small private light of its own. The people of the forests, the old woodcutters and wandering herbalists called it the hush tree, though none of them had ever seen it either. It was said that if you fell asleep beneath its branches just once, you would dream the truest dream of your entire life. Not a dream of fear, and not a dream of longing, but a dream of your own heart, laid open and gentle, showing you exactly what mattered most. Isolde, as a girl, had been too frightened to stay. She had touched the tree's silver bark, felt its strange, cool warmth beneath her fingers, and then, hearing her name called faintly through the trees by a worried guardian, she had turned and run home. She always meant to go back. There was always a reason not to, a kingdom to tend, a decision to make, a winter to prepare for. And so the years passed the way used to, quietly and without asking permission, until Isolde was old and the forest was still there, patient and unchanged, waiting. One late summer evening, when the light over Wilhaven had turned the color of warm honey, Isolde sat alone on her balcony, watching the sun sink slowly behind the hills. Her most trusted attendant, a kind, soft-spoken young woman named Perrine, brought her a cup of chamomile tea and sat quietly beside her, the way she often did in the evenings. "You seem far away tonight," Perrine said gently. Isolde smiled, the corners of her eyes creasing softly. I was thinking of a tree, she said, one I found a very long time ago and never returned to. She told Perrin the story then, slowly, the way one tells a story that has been folded away and kept safe for many years. The silver bark, the shimmering leaves, the promise of the truest dream. Perrin listened without interrupting, and when Isolde finished, she simply asked, "Would you like to find it again?" Isolde was quiet for a long moment. "I'm afraid it no longer exists," she admitted softly. "Or that I imagined it entirely, the way children sometimes imagine things that feel too wonderful to be real." "Then let's find out," Perrin said, "together." And so, the next morning, before the rest of the castle had woken, Isolde and Perrin set out quietly through the orchard gate, wrapped in soft traveling cloaks, carrying only a small satchel of bread and dried fruit, and two wool blankets in case the night grew cool. The forest welcomed them the way old forests do, with a hush that settled over everything the moment they stepped beneath the first line of trees. Sunlight filtered down through the leaves in soft, moving patches of gold. Moss grew thick and green over old fallen logs. Somewhere nearby, a stream moved gently over smooth stones, murmuring to itself in a low, unhurried voice. Isolde walked slowly, her hand resting lightly on Perrin's arm, and she found, to her quiet surprise, that some part of her still remembered the way. Not through any map, and not through any clear memory, but through something softer, a pull, like the way a person's feet sometimes know the path home, even when their mind has forgotten it. They walked for hours, resting often, fearing breath beneath the shade of white oaks. listening to birdsong drifting down from somewhere high above. Isolde did not feel tired the way she expected to. She felt instead strangely light, as though the forest itself were carrying some of her weight for her. As the afternoon leaned into evening, and the light through the trees turned from gold to a soft rose color, Isolde stopped suddenly. "There," she whispered. Ahead of them, through a gap in the trees, was a small clearing, and at its center stood the tree. It was exactly as she remembered it, and yet somehow more beautiful than memory had allowed. Its bark was the color of moonlight on water, smooth and cool looking, faintly silver even in the fading daylight. Its leaves, though there was no wind at all in the clearing, moved very slightly, catching and holding teeny points of light, like 1,000 small lanterns swaying gently on unseen strings. The grass beneath it was soft and thick, untouched, as though nothing had disturbed this quiet place in all the years Isolde had been away. Perrin let out a slow, wandering breath. "It's real," she said softly. "It was real all along." Isolde felt tears rise, warm and unexpected, at the corners of her eyes. Not from sadness, from something closer to relief, the particular relief of finally returning to a place you were afraid you had only dreamed. They approached the tree slowly, the way one approaches something sacred, without hurry, without noise. Isolde reached out and laid her palm against the silver bark, and felt again that strange, cool warmth she remembered from girlhood, like the last lights of a summer evening held inside something solid. "I am here," she whispered to it, as though the tree might have been waiting all this time, the way all friends wait for each other without ever losing patience. As the sky above the clearing deepened into soft twilight blue, Perrin spread the wool blankets over the thick grass beneath the whitest branches. "Rest now," she said gently. "I will keep watch." Isolde lowered herself down slowly, feeling the softness of moss and grass beneath the blanket, feeling the cool evening air settle gently over her like a second, thinner blanket laid on top of the first. Above her, the leaves shimmered faintly, casting small moving patterns of soft light across her closed eyelids. She could hear the stream murmuring somewhere nearby. She could hear the low, steady hum of insects beginning their evening song. She could feel Perrin settle quietly beside her, close enough to be a comfort, far enough to give her stillness room to grow. "Whenever you are ready," Perrin whispered. "There is no rush." Isolde closed her eyes. She breathed in the scent of moss and old bark and the last warmth of summer grass. She let her hands rest open at her sides, the way they had rested so rarely in her long years of ruling. Always occupied, always folded around some duty or decision. Tonight, they were simply open, simply resting, and slowly, gently, the way a leaf settles onto still water, Isolde drifted into sleep. The dream that came to her was not loud, and it was not strange. It did not rush toward her the way dreams sometimes do, full of noise and color and unanswered questions. Instead, it arrived slowly, softly, like a room being lit one candle at a time. She saw her kingdom, but not as it was. She saw it as it felt from the inside, in all its smallest and gentlest moments. She saw morning light falling across the ochre roofs, and the particular quiet of a kitchen before the rest of the household work. She saw children laughing somewhere near the river, their voices carrying up through the warm air. She saw an old shepherd she had spoken with only once, many years ago, sitting contentedly beside his fire, at peace with a life that had asked very little of the world and given quite a lot back to it. She saw Perrin, younger, laughing freely in a way she rarely allowed herself to in the busy hours of the castle. And she saw herself not as a queen, not as a ruler with decisions to make and disputes to settle, but simply as a woman who had spent her whole life caring quietly and steadily for the people around her. The dream did not show her anything she did not already know. It simply let her feel it all at once, gently, the way sunlight feels on skin after a long time indoors. She understood somewhere in the soft center of the dream that this was the truest thing about her. Not her crown, not her title, just this quiet, patient care she had carried for so long, so steadily, that she had almost forgotten to notice she was carrying it at all. And with that understanding came something very close to rest. Real rest. The kind that doesn't simply pose a person, but settles them all the way down into who they actually are. In the clearing beneath the shimmering tree, the night deepened. The small lights among the leaves grew softer, dimmer, more distant, the way stars grew softer just before dawn. Perrin sat quietly beside the sleeping queen, wrapped in her own blanket, watching the gentle rise and fall of her breathing. She did not know exactly what Isol was dreaming, but she could see in the queen's face something she had never quite seen there before. a stillness, a softness, the particular piece of someone who has finally set something down after carrying it for a very long time. Somewhere far off, and all cold ones, low and unhurried, and then the forest settled back into its hush. The stream kept murmuring its slow, endless conversation with the stones. The moss held its coolness, and the grass held its softness, and the ivy-covered castle far away on its hill kept its quiet watch over a kingdom that did not yet know its queen was dreaming the truest dream of her life. Isolde slept on, deeply, peacefully, beneath the shimmering tree. And whatever else that dream showed her, in its final soft hour before morning, is something only the forest ever knew. Some dreams are like that, meant only for the one who dreams them, and for the quiet, patient trees that hold the space around them. Unhurried and unbothered by time. You don't have to know the rest of the story tonight. You don't have to follow it any further than this. Sometimes the gentlest endings are the ones we don't quite finish, because we have already drifted somewhere softer. Maybe you have a history of your own, somewhere in your memory, a quiet place you touched once, long ago, and always meant to return to. You don't have to search for it tonight. You don't have to remember exactly where it was. You can simply let yourself rest here in this soft, unhurried dark, the way Isolde rested beneath those shimmering leaves. Nothing is asking anything of you right now. Not your kingdom, if you have one. Not your duties. Not your decisions. Not the small weights you carried through your day. You can set all of it down, the way Isolde set down her crown for just one night.
and let your hands go loose and open at your sides. Let your breathing slow the way hers did. Let the space around you feel soft and cool and endlessly patient, the way an old forest feels at night, in no hurry for anything at all. If a dream comes to you tonight, let it come gently. Let it show you whatever quiet, true thing it wants to show you, without asking you to understand it right way. And if no dream comes at all, that is alright too. Rest itself is enough. You have carried enough today. You can simply be still now, held by whatever soft place you are resting in, the way the queen was held by moss and grass, in the quiet company of someone who loved her enough to keep watch. Let your thoughts grow slower. Let your body grow heavier. Let the edges of the day soften and blur, the way twilight blurs the edges of a forest. There is nowhere else to be right now. There is nothing else to do. Only this slow, gentle drifting deeper and deeper into sleep. The lantern will be waiting for you tomorrow night. Sleep well.